MVP is opening up about why the Hurt Business split up, so we'll see what he had to say. We'll also check out what's going on with Bianca Belair, Charlotte Flair, and more. Let's start things off with MVP and his comments about the split up and potential reunion for the Hurt Business. So everyone is well aware of how dominant the Hurt Business was during their peak in WWE a few years ago. It all started as MVP recruiting Bobby Lashley and promising to take Lashley's career to a whole new level in WWE. And then they gained Shelton Benjamin and Cedric Alexander along the way, and it became one of the most dominating factions in WWE history. You had the Bloodline over on SmackDown and the Hurt Business on Raw. Both brands had their major own faction, but the Hurt Business's breakup felt so sudden and anticlimactic. Bobby Lashley finally captures the WWE Championship, but during that first appearance with the WWE title in their possession, the Hurt Business just instantly starts having issues with each other and breaks up. There was no build-up, no tension wasn't rising over time, like we see in the Bloodline story. One day, the Hurt Business was fine with each other, and the very next day, they couldn't stand each other with no real detailed story being provided. So that's why it was the end of the group's time together that really left a bad taste in the fans' mouths, because obviously everyone was expecting a better story for the Hurt Business's split. Now, the rumor at the time was that Vince McMahon allegedly thought that Bobby Lashley could shine more without having a faction around him. And that was reportedly why he broke them up out of nowhere. Well, MVP recently spoke with Superstar Crossover to address Vince McMahon splitting up the Hurt Business and his plans for a reunion. MVP had this to say on that topic, quote, "Vince McMahon makes decisions and that's way above my pay grade. The decision that he made, why did he choose to do it? I have no idea. It was his choice. He's my boss. Well, at the time, he was the boss and that's just how things go. We were all scratching our heads, but at the end of the day, I'm doing my best to try to get my team back together. Bobby's being a little stubborn, but I got Shelton and Cedric back on board with me, and I'm trying to get Bobby to come around. We'll see if we can get the Hurt Business back in business." End quote. So it looks like even MVP himself wasn't that clear on why Vince McMahon broke up the Hurt Business. But one thing MVP is continuing to work on in current day is a reunion for the Hurt Business. The reunion of the Hurt Business was first teased several months ago when MVP helped Bobby Lashley get reinstated. That squashed everything that was going on between the both of them, but Lashley said that he didn't really have an answer for MVP yet. So it looks like that'll be more of a long-term reunion story that'll take place somewhere down the line. The most recent teaser and hint towards the Hurt Business reunion has been Bobby Lashley changing an attitude. Bobby Lashley had that big turning moment after his post-match attack on Brock Lesnar at Crown Jewel. But then Lashley settled back down and appeared to be a babyface again. But now it looks like Bobby Lashley is back to his heel ways, judging from the contract signing segment. Instead of meeting Brock Lesnar in the ring, Bobby Lashley sat down by the entrance stage and brought out extra security. Avoiding going to the ring and bringing out extra security guards with you is your basic cowardly heel tactics. So everyone understood that as Bobby Lashley now being back to his heel persona. So if Bobby Lashley is converting back to his heel self, fans are looking at that as a potential sign that the Hurt Business reunion could be getting closer and closer. MVP had a bit of success getting Shelton and Cedric back on the same page, but it was Lashley who still wanted no part for them. So now that it appears that Bobby Lashley is turning heel, it could mean that he's finally ready to give MVP that answer. If MVP is able to get the original Hurt Business back together and bring in Omos on top of that, you could have a dominant faction there that could even take on the Bloodline head on. So it may be a slow-moving storyline, but it looks like the Hurt Business reunion is still on the way, and they could end up being more dominant than ever before. Bianca Belair versus Charlotte Flair was a very brief feud that we saw towards the end of 2021. It wasn't even much of a feud. Bianca and Charlotte had a title match on Raw, but Charlotte ended up moving to SmackDown and it really wasn't touched on after that. But since then, everyone has been talking about the dream match of seeing a full WrestleMania program between Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Even Ric Flair thinks that it's worthy of being this massive collision between two superstars that are on top of their game. Originally, fans were hoping to see Bianca and Charlotte clash at WrestleMania 39, but obviously that didn't end up happening. But Bianca Belair recently spoke on the Out of Character podcast and had this to say about the dream match for WrestleMania, quote, "Definitely, everybody always asks, what's your dream WrestleMania match? Bianca versus Flair. I think that's like another main event WrestleMania match. Charlotte Flair is one of the first women that I looked up to when I got to NXT. I saw myself in her. Ric Flair's her father. But a lot of people tend to forget she had zero experience coming as well. She was also a collegiate athlete like me. And when I got to NXT and I saw her on Raw and SmackDown and being the champion, she was in the position that I'm in right now. I was like, that's where I want to be. Now I'm here. She's like the last 4 horsewomen that I haven't defeated. She's the most decorated woman in women's wrestling. It's really cool that she's the last one that I'm chasing. I would love for that to be a WrestleMania match," end quote. So Bianca is saying both of their paths and life experiences are so similar. Bianca and Charlotte were both great athletes before joining WWE, but they both had zero prior experience inside the wrestling ring. Bianca and Charlotte weren't wrestling all over the independent scene. They were both 2 all-time great products of WWE's Performance Center. So Bianca sees a lot of herself and her own journey in Charlotte Flair, and thinks that meeting her in the ring at WrestleMania will surely be a WrestleMania main event. Both Bianca and Charlotte have already main evented WrestleMania in the past. But Bianca is right. This matchup right here has WrestleMania main event written all over it. So that could be a big matchup that WWE is stashing up their sleeve. There's allegedly supposed to be some sort of draft or roster shakeup sometime after WrestleMania. So maybe that's how Bianca and Charlotte get on the same brand again. But it'll be interesting to see when and if they do turn to this feud between Bianca Belair and Charlotte Flair. Do they use it at the second biggest show of the year, SummerSlam? Or will they hold off on Charlotte Flair versus Bianca Belair maybe until WrestleMania 40 and let the main event night 1 of WrestleMania? Fans can't really complain about either route because it'll be great to see that matchup no matter where it takes place at. But for the time being, everything's going to be great for both Bianca and Charlotte. They'll both be walking into WrestleMania 39 as champions, so all is going well for them right now. So we'll have to see if their roads will collide sometime in the future. But what are your thoughts on today's stories? Leave your comments below. Don't forget to subscribe with all notifications on, and leave a like if you enjoyed. Thanks for watching, guys.